You're listening to the Next 15 Podcast Show with Trey North on Spreaker.com. Welcome to the Next 15 Podcast Show with Trey North right here on Spreaker.com. We're back with another episode. Family Matters. I told you guys it was going to be part 2. Communication is the key. I'm here with my co-host, Chris McAllister.
Hey, what's going on?
Man, how was your week this week?
Dude, it's been a busy week, dude. But hey, you know, I can't complain. Listen, doing a lot better than a lot of people, man.
Hey, man, that's for sure, man. God is good.
Yes, sir.
Listen, man, just want to recap before we get into the broadcast or into the broadcast, whichever one, don't really matter.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. Just want to thank everybody for the 1,000 downloads for my birthday on March the 23rd. Yours truly turned 48 years old. Also, hey man, listen, I was running through my analytics and trying to see my how many people's listening, who's listening, where they're listening from. And man, I have made international status.
Come on.
I have Malaysia, Italy, and Africa. People listening in from there. Yeah.
Come on.
Big shout out to my fans in Italy, Malaysia, and Africa. Thank you so much for making the Next 15 podcast one of your favorite podcasts to listen to. Also, man, we got a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, man, we do.
We got a lot of stuff. The Next 15 podcast is moving in another direction real soon. I come up with that information with y'all, mainly to the subscribers only first. And if you're not a subscriber, then go to www.next15podcast.com. Select subscribe, and you'll get right to that exclusive information that we have available to you. Man, what else is going on? Due to the COVID, just want to pray for the families, saying, you know, you're in our prayers for the families with the COVID-19, those who are being affected. Whether you have it or not, everybody's being affected. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir. I totally do, man. I mean, even to the point to jobs and, you know, food preparation, kids being at home, driving parents crazy, all of that. We're praying for you guys. And please keep us in your prayers also.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I need prayer because, you know, I'm one of those guys that had to have his hair cut every week. And my barber, our barber, has shut down. I need a braider.
Yeah, you do kind of look like Ricky Fontaine right now.
Pretty Ricky, what they call me.
Oh man,
I don't even know how to respond to that. That's hilarious. Ricky Fontaine, look like Rick Fox,
and the locks.
Oh man, yeah, man. So, I mean, been a busy week. Trying to put this podcast together. I think everybody's gonna love this part too because we got a guest co-host that we're gonna come back with after the commercial break. But before we go, man, what's been going on? I mean, everything's been going good with you, right?
Man, yeah, everything's been going good other than the fact, man, is I'm trying to not go into deep madness with being at the house so much. Like, you know, you think you know your family until you've had to spend this much time with your family. Like, like I thought I knew my kids, and now I'm figuring out that I don't know too much, nothing about my kids. I'm like, I didn't even know you like the things that you like. Me and my son had a conversation the other day, and it blew my mind. I'm like, I haven't talked to this dude in over 10 years. Like, he's a totally. I'm still going off of things that I talked to him about 10 years ago. Like, I'm still thinking that he's a 10-year-old kid. He's 18. He's a grown man. I'm still talking to him like, hey, so any video games you played lately? He was like, no, Dad, I talk to girls. I'm like, what? Yeah, but other than that, man, it's been real good, dude. Like I say, just working as much as possible, and then, you know, sad news, having to let some people go. So it's been eventful. My week has, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, man. Fortunately, with my job, my position, we haven't had to let anybody go, which is great. It's a blessing.
Yes.
It's a blessing to be working. Yes. Not that I wouldn't rather be home, you know, staying out of it, but I am in a position where I'm not really face-to-face contact with a lot of people because most people where I am, you know, they're not there's not high traffic over there. Okay. But other than that, for me, man, just praying for a couple of friends. You know, they're experiencing some, you know, they have got the virus, and so I've been praying for them and praying for the nation, really, as a whole, man. That's where we at right now, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And like I say, just pray, pray for the nation, man. Pray for our leaders, man. I mean, I know that some of us might not consider, who's president or whatever may have you. Well, right now, what we need to do is just pray for our leaders, that God opens up the door and open up their minds to be able to do what they need to do in regards to this disease, man. So, yeah, absolutely keep prayer open.
Got it, man. Okay, well, guess what? We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in our special guest co-host on the next 15, and we're going to talk about family matters. And this young lady knows about family matters.
Absolutely.
But we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'll see you on the next 15 after these commercial messages.
Hey, it's Trey North, and I want to personally thank you for supporting the Next 15 podcast show. We are now available on your favorite digital platform. Don't forget to check out the all-new redesigned website, next15podcast.com, where you can listen to seasons 1 and 2 episodes. You can also check out the hot new inspirational blog written by my awesome mom, Stella B. North. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my website for exclusive news, content, and future promos. Again, thank you for your support and enjoy the rest of the podcast. You're listening live to the Next 15 podcast show with Trey North on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to the Next 15 podcast show with my co-host, Chris McAllister. And we are bringing into our studio our very first time guest. She's a mother of 5.
Are you serious?
5 children, and she looks like she's 20.
Jesus Christ.
A mother of 5, a single mother at 5.
Oh.
Of 5, looks very young for her age.
Does.
But her name is Andrea Clark. Welcome to the Next 15 podcast, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So what's been going on with you as far as the COVID-19 situation? How's it going on in your household?
Household, nothing but eating, sleeping. Every day I come in from work, hey, y'all check y'all phone for online assignments. No, Mom, we don't have nothing. But y'all just now waking up. So that's what's been going on in my household.
Kids.
Always doing a bunch of nothing.
Yep. Staying up all night and then sleeping all day.
Yes.
Well, we're here. We're talking about family matters. This is part 2 of Communication is the Key. Mm-hmm. And just to give a summary of what we were talking about, last week we discussed on how important it is to communicate with our children, how to effectively communicate with them, and then we discussed about our tone sets, how our tone sets the stage for engaging with them and doing a conversation.
Yeah.
How our tone can either gain or lose their interest when we're either disciplining them or just talking to them about something important.
Yeah.
We also talked about the different types of parenting styles. Yeah. We talked about 3 actually: the authoritarian, the permissive, and authoritative parenting. Yeah. We said that, and I'm just giving a quick summary before we go in because some people haven't heard. If you haven't heard it, then you need to go back and listen to part 1.
Yeah, it's real good, guys.
Yeah. So we talked about the authoritarian parents are the strict discipline style parents with little negotiation possible. Yeah. And the communication is basically mostly one way from parent to child.
Yeah, and that was, and we went back and, I kind of found out that was me in the beginning of child raising, or in the country they say child rearing. But I was more of authoritarian, and I love my wife, but she's still an authoritarian.
Yeah, I was the same way. Then we also talked about the permissive, which was the type of parent that is kind of opposite of strict. They kind of have no limitations or no rules. They're kind of loose with their children. Yeah. And then we talked about the authoritative parent, which is a blend. We thought of that to be in like the perfect blend of a parent between the authoritative and then the authoritarian.
Yeah.
The authoritarian. That is, I don't know why that just it's like a tongue twister.
I don't know.
But I can say Peter Piper picked the pickled peppers at the pepper patch. How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? I could say that, but I don't know. All right. I'm sorry. It's like my vocal warm up before we get on here.
Oh my God.
That's random.
It's hilarious.
but anyway, yeah. So we talked about those 3 parenting styles, and what we said was, okay, we had a men's point of view. It was just us last week.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we need to bring in a female's perspective of all of this. So that's why we asked you, and we thank you so much for joining us here on the show, Andrea. So what can you offer, or what do you have to say about that? Like, as far as the parenting styles, or which parenting style are you, or do you consider yourself being?
I am more of I was more of the authoritarian. I was the parent that was, of course, strict. My kids would ask me anything. It was always no. They were like, why, Mom? Because I said so.
Yeah.
So,
like my mama.
Yes. So then you get into a point, your kid's not coming to you, talking to you. So then you want to be able to communicate with them. So then you become the authoritative.
Okay. So how? Okay. So with you got 5 kids, right? So what, you have boys, girls? I mean,
I have 4 girls and 1 boy.
Oof.
Wait a minute. Did you say for? Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yes, 4 girls and 1 boy.
Oh, wow.
The emotional level in that house is ridiculous.
I would have been authoritarian too. That many. So you said at one point you were the authoritarian, and then you switched over to the authoritative position. So what made you switch? I mean,
well, when you get tired of your kids running to other people and not being able to come to you first. So I got tired of my kids hearing things that was going on with my kids from other people.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's actually really good. So you're saying, like, when you're authoritarian, that's it. So if you're authoritarian, that, like, again, they rather go to somebody else outside the house to tell their problems to, in regards to that.
Yes, because they already know, Mom and Dad, all they're going to say is no, or they're not going to listen. So, yes.
Yeah, I kind of had that. I had that same problem, and I talked about it last week. With being the authoritarian, it makes your kids venture out and find other avenues of information. They outsource it somewhere else, whether it's the internet or another individual that they trust more than they trust you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can understand exactly where she's coming from. And then you got 5 kids.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure you're dealing with 5 different personalities. How's that? I mean, having 5 kids with 5 different personalities.
I communicate with my girls different than I do with my son.
Okay.
Nobody wants a soft boy. So I had to learn to talk to him harsh.
Punch him in his chest.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I talk to my girls softly, which I had to learn because I can't be harsh, hard, and hurt feelings. But when I get to him, because he's the only boy, I'd be like, oh, okay, no, we're going to do this. And I was like, no, you can't talk to him like you talk to your girl. So I had to learn to talk to him different.
Gotcha. Is it me, or is it just like our generation? We came up a little rough, to the point where, like, that's why we do our children, that same way, because it sounds like we all started in the same place where we were, authoritarian in regards to how we raise children. And I think that goes back to, again, our child rearing that we grew up in, but also just the way life was back then. We were tougher in some regards. And so, like you said, you talk to your girls, like me, same thing for me. I was like, hey, I had to learn how to talk to girls, because I'm straight man. I was going to talk rough to everybody in the house. I'm like, everybody can get it. You know what I'm saying? And then my wife kind of began to help me with talking to them. And then again, I gave the story last week where I was able to break to the point where now I'm a big teddy bear when it comes to them. I'm still kind of hard on my son, but I'm a big teddy bear when it comes to my girls.
Yeah, I think, what I think it is when you said, does it go back to back in the day, the way we were raised? I think it was. I think it is. Yeah. I think it's learned behavior. So I think we took that behavior that we learned from our parents and transfer that over as over into our children as that's being the right way. I mean, we turned out decent.
Yeah.
So, it didn't kill us. Those extension cords.
Yeah. Those braided up switches.
Belt buckles.
Anything they put their hand on.
Yeah.
House shoes.
Right.
Whatever.
My mom could use a house shoe like a boomerang,
I
bro.
hated
Like,
them house shoes. I hated them house shoes, man. Them old dirty, nasty, filthy house shoes you didn't walked around on. You didn't went to the mailbox in. You might have nerves to slap me in the face with a house shoe. I'm sorry, Mama.
oh, God.
I'm sorry, Mama. I did it again.
Right, but but that's like only kids can make you feel that way. Like I didn't know how much a kid can make you want to fight. Like I didn't know until I started having to deal with my own children. You would want to fight, like a kid will make you want to fight them at some point. Like you be like, who is you talking to? Like did you just roll your eyes at me, girl? I'll drag you across.
That's when I brought you into this world. I'll take you
absolutely.
out.
That's when you be, and that's when you begin to get into that point where you always say that, I ain't gonna never be like my parents, and you find out you start to say the same exact thing that your parents said in regards to kid raising. Because here's the thing, like I truly believe that they went through the same things as our parents. Like they said the same thing. I ain't gonna never be like my parents, and it ended up being just like our grandparents at this point. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think the way she was saying earlier, how she talked to her girls versus how she talked to her son. She's a little bit more at first more sweeter than on her son, and rough on our girls. I think it's the same way in reverse for our children, for our boys, for men, for our boys versus girls. Now, I haven't had any girls, but I've seen my other constituents
to it. Yep.
talk to the sons, rough, and then they're going, softy with the girls and everything. Oh, you okay, baby? Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Boy, if you don't set your, so I think it's something. I think it's learned behavior, and I think it's. I think we're generally harder on the opposite, of the same sex when we're, when we're trying to discipline our children. Right. Andrea, let me ask you a question. So, gosh, you had 5 kids, so you had 5 different personalities. So, do you have to talk different to each one? As far as how you communicate with them, like if you're trying to get them or disciplining them or just sitting down having a talk, or is everybody on the same, I guess, page? Wavelength.
No, they're all different.
Yeah.
My oldest one, she's 21. So I talk to her like having a conversation with y'all. The next one is 16. She has attitude. She tends to have attitude. You get that age where you smelling yourself.
Yeah.
So that's her.
16-year-old girl in America. Got it.
Exactly. So then I have the 13-year-old. She's real sensitive. So I can't talk to her real hardcore or mean because she's sensitive. So then you have my son. So I had to talk to him different because he tends to hold a lot of anger. He gets mad real fast. And then my baby girl, she's 11. Well, she's 10. I'm sorry. She's 10. And she is the one who has the temper tantrums.
Oh, wow. Temper tantrums.
The baby.
Temper tantrums.
Yes.
We've all had them.
You say no to her, she's going to stomp.
Really?
Yes, that's her.
Okay. Which one gets on your nerves the most? No, I'm just joking. I got a question.
The baby.
The baby. Touche. You know what? If my baby girl is listening now, it ain't just me. All right. So I do have one question, though, is do you ever feel like out of your 5 children that you're dealing with 5 portions of you? Like, can you see yourself in all 5 children? Like, okay, that's part of me. I know that's me. That's my attitude. That's my, you know what I mean? That's my confusion state. That's my, like, do you have to deal with that every once in a while?
Yes. And I see it in my kids. Because how I was raised, my mom was, of course, strict.
Gotcha.
So by her being strict, it caused me to be the sneaky one, sneaky and lie. So that's when I see it in one of my kids. So to answer your question, yes, and I see it in one of them.
Okay, all right.
Really? Okay.
Well, listen, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to finish up Family Matters Part 2. Communication is the key. This is Trade North, and we'll be back on the next 15 after these messages.
Hey, did you know that you can now listen to the Next 15 podcast show with Trey North on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube? That's right. Catch up on previous episodes on your favorite music platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the all-new website by going to www.next15podcast.com. When you subscribe, you get VIP access to upcoming live events, news about upcoming episodes, and other information before anyone else. Head over to www.next15podcast.com right now and subscribe today.
We're back at the Next 15 podcast show with co-host Chris McAllister and our guest co-host Andrea Clark, talking about communication is the key, second part of Family Matters. And we were just talking about the different parent styles, the parenting styles, and also how Andrea is able to communicate with her 5 on different levels. So she just got through explaining that she can't talk to her kids the same way either.
Right.
So and I think that's common with good parenting.
Yeah.
Because you can't, kids they're different. They have their own mind frame, their own way that they process information.
Right.
When you give it to them, and they're just not going to always be on the same wavelength. So So what else do you? I mean, as a single, are you a single parent?
Yes.
So
I am.
as a single parent or a single mother, what are some of the challenges you face because I can only imagine with 4 girls and 1 boy, and I'm not trying to get all in your business, but I just would be remiss if I didn't believe that you didn't have problems with each one. How does that handle? I mean, in the household, I mean, are you an authoritative parent? Not the authoritarian, but you said you were the authoritative. But I mean, do you sometimes have to switch up, and where there is non-negotiable?
As like I said before, I used to be the authoritative.
The authoritative.
Yes, and then I had to learn to be the authoritative. I'm sorry. So whenever it just depends on the situation, which will make me go from one to the other. So
0 to 100.
Yes. But lately I've been able to talk to them, calm. If they do something out of the ordinary, you got to give them that look. Hey, them give me your phone. You on punishment.
Yeah, sometimes you can give a child that look.
Yeah.
I was able to give my kids that look, my boys, and they were good for the most part because they were scared because at the time I was an authoritarian. But you just give them that look, that the people's eyebrow, like The Rock or something, like I know you.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, so each of do you have different looks?
Yeah. I mean, you got 5 kids. You got to have a couple of looks that you give out in regards to your kids.
No, I just turned around, look like, hey, I said no. Give me your phone. You got to take away something that they really enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's the phone with my son. It's his game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean.
So do you feel like there's one that's more effective? Like even with, to me, I feel like that even though, I'm not an authoritarian anymore or as much because I can put that hat on when I need to. But do you feel like if there's one more effective than the other, like when having 5 children, is there one more effective with girls versus boys? Like how do you feel about, in that case, which one do you think is more effective across the board?
I would say the girls. Because my son, he's a lone body. Like he stays in his room. You can put a TV in front of him, his game. He have his phone. He's himself. But them girls, they have a different vibe, a different connection than what they have with him. So he's a lone body.
Gotcha. What I found out is with my kids is that, like, again, there's one child in my house. I ain't gonna name names. I'm not gonna give ages because, if they listen to this podcast, they know who I'm talking about.
Because they know their age.
Yeah, exactly. But there's one in that they probably gonna know who I'm talking about when I say it. But there's one in the house that I just like. You gonna have to get that kind of raw dog approach to that authoritarian approach to, because that's the only thing that they respond to, because if you talk soft to them, they're gonna run straight over you, and they know it. They good, they smart.
I know that.
Yeah, you know that. But again, the other one, I have another one though on the opposite end of the spectrum. The minute that you raise your voice, they break down. You know what I mean? And they go into a little cubby hole. You know what I mean? They don't want to talk, and you ain't gonna see them for 2 days.
It's
so.
like the ostrich when he sticks his head in the ground on the cartoons.
Absolutely. And so again, it's that diversity. I truly think that other than the just letting your kid do whatever they want to do and not having any rules and regulations and trying to be the best friend, I truly believe that we need at least an authoritarian and an authoritative approach. Like, you got to have a balance of both for child rearing. You know what I mean? And so because again, it goes by levels. It's as they're young, a little bit of authoritarian is good. But as they get a little bit older, you get to the point where you're able to start to have that conversation. Like you said, you have a 21-year-old. You get to have that conversation now instead of being a director or dictator at that point.
I don't think anybody has, and I agree totally what you're saying. I was just looking, I was like, nobody in this group has talked about the permissive parenting, because I don't think either one of us. It doesn't hurt that we're African American.
Yeah, I just don't agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, from a woman's perspective, and this goes back to the last episode when I noticed some, not all women, but there are some women that to me do too much talking. But they also allow their kids to or choose to have that type of parenting style, the permissive parenting. What are your thoughts on a permissive parent, the one who pretty much is not really strict? There's no set of rules that kind of give the kids the option of doing what they want to make their own decisions. I mean, how do you feel about that? And does that work in today's society?
My opinion on that is you're just being your child's best friend. And I don't think that you should be your child's best. I mean, it's okay to be your child's best friend, but up to a certain level. Like, you won't see me in a club with my daughter. You won't see me having a certain adult conversation with my kids. So when you are permissive, you just letting your kids just do whatever they want to do, just so you can tell your friend, oh, well, me and our relationship is just fine, it's good. Like, no.
So how do you think that? I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
No, I was just gonna say, how do you find that with kids today, as far as how the mentality of a child today? How does that, having that permissible relationship as far as parenting concerned, how does that translate to the children today or to kids today?
I think it's a lot of teen pregnancy. You have a lot of runaways. So it's a real disadvantage when you're trying to be your child's best friend other than a parent. I can say from my personal experience, because my mom was strict on me, and I was like, well, I have a family member, their mom says this, and this, they let them do this, and that. How come I can't do this, and that? And they end up pregnant at the age of 16, which I'm thankful that I wasn't. So everything has a con and advantage to it.
Yeah.
So
because I would think in today's society with the permissive parenting style, that it opens the door for, because these kids think they're entitled.
Yes.
There's an entitlement, especially when the parent has no hold or no type of boundary, have set up any type of boundaries regarding their children, and they go out into the real world and expect things to go their way, and then all of a sudden they hit a brick wall. Whether it's on a job, in my line of work, it appears that we have a younger generation, and they have no type of work ethic, in my opinion, to that of how I was raised. And so they feel entitled. They have this entitlement, and it just behooves me that they have this type of mentality and figure that it's going to work in today's world.
And the play off of that is that with the entitlement, it causes problems, because when you're entitled, then you lose the respect. And that's the problem that I see in this generation, and it kind of started at the end of ours. As the parenting as the parenting styles started to change in regards to, again, raising kids, you started getting that entitlement individual and the respect level of your elders or your older generation. Ma'ams, the no ma'am, yes sirs, the no sirs, the yes ma'ams, the no ma'ams, the doing stuff because people were older, helping older people across the street. You don't see that now. No. And when you do, it's praised. Back when our day, you did it because that's what you do, and you don't get a pat on the back. You help your elders, Yes. And now when people, with social media, you got kids who will help you just to record it and put it on social media. You know what I mean?
So
the alternative motive. You know what I'm saying? And so we did it because it was the right thing to do, not to get likes or not to get friends or become famous and whatnot. And so again, it's just a different generation. Different outlook, but that entitlement thing, man, for me, it's starting to trickle into our generation now, because now our generation is feeling entitled because the younger generation is entitled. I think it's
I'll tell you what, we're going to take a commercial break and we're going to wrap it up with final comments. We'll see you guys after these messages on the next 15.
Do you love sporting that bald and bearded look? Looking for apparel to match that clean and fresh look too? Then head over to baldbeardedblessed.com and check out the hottest t-shirts for every occasion. Whether you're lounging at home, working out, or hanging out having fun with friends, nothing expresses who you are like your look. Bald, Bearded, and Blessed has the shirt you're looking for. They have a variety of styles and colors for both men and women in size ranging from small to 4XL. Get your Bald, Bearded, and Blessed apparel today at baldbeardedblessed.com and enter code the next 15 in the promo section of the cart and get 15% off your order just for being a loyal listener. Follow them at Bald Bearded Blessed on both Instagram and Facebook platforms, and on Twitter at Bearded Blessed, or email them at baldbeardedblessed@gmail.com. Bald, Bearded, and Blessed is the apparel brand that expresses confidence and boldness for those who love the bald and bearded look in every facet of life.
Welcome back to the Next 15 podcast show. This is Trey North, and we're about to wrap it up for this podcast on Family Matters, Part 2, with guest co-host Andrea Clark, and of course my main co-host Chris McAllister.
Yo.
And we're wrapping it up. Any final thoughts, guys? Who wants to go first?
Let me go first, and then I'll let Miss Clark go. My final thoughts at this point is that, do what, when it comes to raising children. Listen, right now with everything that's going on with this pandemic, family matters, and raising children, find what works for your house, Find what works and what does you the best. Because at the end of the day, remember, when your kids leave, because they're going to leave, it'll be you. So do your best and let them live their lives after that.
What about you, Andrea?
My final thoughts would be, if you are a parent and you have younger kids or older kids, communicate with them. Be open with them. Learn your kids. Learn what upsets them. Just take your time and then just learn your kids. So therefore, you will have an open relationship with your kids versus them running and telling somebody else. So you don't want to find out what's going on with your kids through somebody else because certain information can be lost down the pipeline. So,
okay, that's very good.
That's good.
Yeah, my final thought would be pretty much is a conglomerate of what both of you said. I think as parents, we don't get that manual.
Yeah.
Of how to raise a child. It comes through experience, and also it comes through making mistakes. And I think we have to be conscious about not being perfect parents.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn our mistakes. That's how we learn our children.
Right.
That's how we learn how to talk. If we have more than one child, we learn how to talk to each child differently because we have probably somewhere down the pipeline have made a mistake and have said something that triggered one of the kids to feel some type of way when we said it to another one and it didn't even bother them. So I think we have to pay attention. We have to use wisdom. We also have to, as parents, be willing to accept our mistakes and our flaws and pick up the pieces if we do. If we break glass, we sweep it up, we pick it up.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make sure that we have a dialogue with our children. And how, if we mess up, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. It's okay to say, hey, I missed it as a parent, because at the end of the day, I'm still a human being. I make mistakes and you're sure going to make mistakes at the end of the day. So I think, the parent and child relationship comes from having a conversation, being able to sit down and talk to them. And as my experience, not to listen more than just to be talking. Because sometimes kids just want to be heard. A lot of times they already know just because of how you raise them, your style of parenting, that they did wrong. Or that they shouldn't have done this. You don't always have to beat them over the head, when they make their mistakes. Sometimes you just got to let them eat the consequences of that. So I think it's just very important that we do keep that open line. Again, I just believe that if we don't do that, then our kids will go out, they'll outsource the information somewhere else, especially from other kids of their age or someone, and that information might not be true. But if they're not listening to you, then they're listening to somebody else. So I just think communication is the key, to maintaining that relationship with each child. So that's my final thoughts. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to the Drip Podcast that are on Saturday at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central. Big shout out to Christian Amy. She's got a nice podcast, spiritual podcast called Anchored in Love on Thursdays. I believe it's at 9 a.m. Those both podcasts. Podcasters are from the Noise Radio Network, which is an independent network targeting urban and multicultural audiences. A very great up-and-coming network. A big shout-out to my boy, Juan Alaman, who has the 80s Hours with Juan Alaman on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central on Spreaker.com. You can find all of those great podcasts on Spreaker.com. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us at Next 15 Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter platforms. I almost forgot what I was going to say. You can also hit up www.next15podcast.com, where you can catch all of the exciting news that are exclusive news if you subscribe to what's going on with the Next 15. My mom, Stella B. North, has an awesome blog on the website. I know you guys have read it, but she's doing really good. Shout out to my mom. And I think that's about it. Also, I can't forget to thank my co-host and my guest co-host for being on here. Andrea, we appreciate you for taking your time out today to be on the show.
Absolutely.
We thank you so much. We value your input. It's always nice to have a woman's point of view, especially in something like this. Because it's kind of one-sided with us males. But it seems like we all agreed on the same thing. So that's good. Chris, man, I appreciate you as always.
No problem at all,
Chris
man.
McAllister, the pastor and founder of Life Changers Church in Austin,
Yes, sir.
Texas.
Here in the great city of Austin, Texas. Listen, right now, again, with everything that's going on with the COVID-19, we want to be your new cyber church. So please, please, please watch us live on Sunday mornings at Facebook Live at LCC Austin, and you can get a great message and say, listen, I want to see you viewing us online, or you can go on our website at www.lifechangersaustin.com, and then you can get the message there, because God is still a big God. He's still doing big things, and he's changing lives, but he's still starting with us.
All right. Hey, about what time is that Facebook Live on Sunday?
On at 10:30 a.m. I mean, on the dot. You know, we are a church that believes that being on time,
Even in the cyber industry.
even in the cyber world.
Awesome, man. Well, you heard it right there from Pastor Christopher McAllister of Life Changers Church. We just want to thank everybody for listening once again. If you enjoyed this podcast or the other podcast, please share and subscribe. Again, you can follow us at Next 15 Podcast on both Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter platforms. And we just want to say thank you again for listening to our show, and we'll see you on the Next 15.